The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everybody. We will get started in just about a minute. We're just going to give folks another minute or so to hop on, and we've got a great presentation for you today. Our special guest is going to blow your mind and uh, probably keep you up tonight thinking about it. And I don't say that lightly. I mean that sincerely. So just hang tight for just another minute. Grab a pen and paper. Get rid of any potential distractions. Close that office door, etc. And we'll get started in just about 45 seconds. All right, all right. We are going to go ahead and get rocking and rolling here. My name, for those of you who do not know, my name is Josh Schoenly with Client Alchemist and eXp Realty. I am the person that invited you here today. And you can thank me later, haha, because we have a very special presentation. And our special guest, Bob Robert, is going to show you a way, a unique selling proposition that you can leverage to list 3 to 5 homes every week. And he's going to show you how recently he got over 300 buyers to an open house, and consistently other clients and students of Bob's consistently are getting well in excess of 100 buyers to open houses on a consistent basis. Now, I emphasized that this is a unique selling proposition because I would venture to say, unless you've been on a training call with Bob, this training class, the ideas and the concepts in here you've probably never heard before. And for those of you who get it, for those of you who this clicks for and with, it can potentially change the course of your real estate career. Again, I do not say these things lightly. I say them sincerely. And you're going to see as Bob goes through today's class, today's training, why I can say that, why I can make those promises. Before we dig in, though, let's take care of a couple of housekeeping items. Number one, first and foremost, can you please let me know in the Q&A box, can you hear me okay? And can you see the screen? There's an easy button on the screen right now, and that's for a reason, a very good reason. Let me know, can you hear in the Q&A box, can you hear me? Can you see the screen? And certainly, we'd love to know where you are listening in from. Hopefully, I'm not just speaking to myself, or maybe there's just a delay on the responses. We have people. Okay, yes, let's go. Alabama, Gene. All right, Gene, you're going to love this. Gene, absolutely. I can hear you from Minnesota. Derek, yes, Missouri. There must be just a lag. Mel in Utah. Right on, right on. Okay, seems like we're good to go there. Great. Checkpoint number one. Checkpoint number two. Definitely want to have a pen and paper handy so you can take notes and be able to come back and revisit those notes so that you can take action and implement some of the things or a lot of the things that Bob is going to share with you today. Number three, I mentioned this when we first hopped on. Make sure you let's get rid of all distractions. Let's close down other browsers. Let's turn the phone to vibrate. Let's close the office door, maybe even lock it, and give Bob and I your undivided attention for the next 60 to 75 minutes. I promise you, we will make it worth your while if you do that. But the only way for us to maximize our time together with each other here is if each of us has your undivided attention. So please do us that favor. And then the last thing I'll mention is that we will stay on for live Q&A at the end. And I know, I am certain, because of the fact that this is unique and new and different, there are going to be a lot of questions. at the end. So as you have a question pop into your brain, go ahead and pop it in the question box, and I'll make sure that when we hop back on, after I turn it over to Bob, when I hop back on out of moderator role, we'll make sure that we address every single one of those questions. Now, I've mentioned his name a couple of times. Our special guest today is Bob Mangold. Now, we've had Bob on several times recently for trainings for our community, our client alchemist community. However, we've never had him on for this particular training to go over this particular opportunity and this unique selling opportunity that can give you a competitive advantage in your marketplace and literally change the course of your real estate career. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bob. I will let Bob introduce himself and get right into it. And I'm going to go to moderator role. I'll make sure that we moderate the questions and the comments, and I'll chime in if and where necessary.
Perfect. So thanks, Josh. Thanks so much for being here, folks. As Josh said, we're going to go through some material today and a strategy that you haven't seen. I do encourage you to take notes because we're going to go through a lot of details, and then we'll stick around and answer questions, obviously. So do me a favor real quick. How many of you guys agree with me? Real estate's actually one of the easiest businesses on the planet. How many of you guys agree with that? Raise your hand. I love doing this in front of a live group because everybody looks at me like I'm from Mars. Because of course, real estate's not.
Howard said it can be. Gene said yes. Come on, chime in. Where's the
perfect?
Where's some more of you? Come on, folks. We're the quiet crowd. Bonnie says yes. Many times yes.
Yeah, let me clarify. Going through the transactions is not really that hard. That's the hard part, right? But the truth is, guys, finding business really is not that hard. And that's what we need to talk about today. So let me ask you this. If I give you three choices and you put it in the box for me, would you rather have a lead from, let's say, a Facebook ad, from Zillow, or somebody who raised their hand and said, I want to sell their house. I want to sell my house. Which would you rather have?
1, 2, or 3.
Right? I know everybody's going to say number 3.
This one. 3, of course, 3. The seller raised Robin, number 3. Number 3, number 3, number 3. Right on. Right.
So we all know that, yet we want to make the business harder, right? We follow every shiny object, and yet about 20 years ago or so, a book was written, we'll talk about that in a minute, that really showed the most profitable and efficient real estate business that any agent can create is to carry at least 10 listings every day of the year, right? I mean, think about what your business would look like if that was the case. I mean, Gary Keller wrote a whole book that took the 50 top agents in the world at the time, or in the United States at the time, and looked for the commonality that they all had. And the number one thing that they all did was they all carried listings, right? And then they simply went out and built a business that looked like this. They were the listing agent. They went out and hired a whole bunch of buyer's agents that paid them a split, a referral fee, however you want to look at it, and built tremendous businesses. So the blueprint has been in place for decades now. The question is, why don't we do it? It's really that simple. Now, where are the sellers that are raising their hands? Well, they're called FSBOs, expireds, canceled, investors. So we know where they're at. The question is, why aren't we going at them? Why aren't we approaching them? And so that becomes the dilemma for us, right? We know that to build that team that way or to do it that way is, well, we got to get listings, but where are they? The question is, how do we get all those listings? Now, this is not a traditional FSBO expired call. There's plenty of those out there, right? The question is, how are you going to go out and get those listings? Because if you had the listings, you could build that team, no problem, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But the truth is, guys, my challenge for you today is to understand that if you want to produce at the highest level, you can't do what everyone else is doing, right? You can't keep doing what you're doing. If you're not happy with your business, you've got to get outside the box. So today I'm going to challenge you because what we're going to show you today is definitely cutting edge. It's definitely leading edge, and it's definitely outside of the box. So my challenge for you today is to sit with an open mind and say, hey, let me look at how I can do my business differently. And I'm going to give you some good reasons you have to, right? So it's pretty simple for a listing. It's there's really only 3 things that they're looking for. It's to get them the highest possible price or the highest possible net, whichever one you want to, talk about. It's one and the same, really. They want it sold fast, and they want the least amount of hassles, right? That's what every seller is looking for. There's really nothing over and above that. Well, the question becomes, how many appointments could you get? Let's just focus on FSBOs for a minute. We do our traditional starting. Hey, this is Bob with eXp Realty. Calling to get a little information on your home. Wanted to see if I brought you a buyer, the price was acceptable. Would you pay me a 3% finder's fee? I don't use the word commission because they don't want to pay a commission, right? So that's pretty standard. But the next part is, so if I had a platform specifically designed for private sellers like you, where you pay zero commission or fees, you get top dollar for your house in only 14 days, we drive all the marketing and traffic for your house, I completely control when your home is shown, and I handle the entire transaction. Would that be of interest to you? Folks, if you were able to take and talk to a FSBO like that, how many would you get? How many appointments could you set every day, every week, using that kind of scripting? And I know you're worried, oh my gosh, how are we going to do that? I'm going to show you how we do it, right? But the important question is, how many appointments could you schedule? Right? And the way that I typically do that is, they'll go, hey, great, let me stop by, look at the house. Hey, don't forget, remind me when I'm there to talk about a platform that I have specifically designed for private sellers like you, where you don't pay any commissions or fees. You get top dollar for your house in only 14 days. I can completely control when your house is shown. Guys, how many FSBO appointments could you get every week if you took that approach? If that was the scripting that you would use, how many could you get? Put it in the chat box for me. Because I want to make sure that you understand the power of asking the right questions when you're talking to a FSBO. So I'm sorry, I might not be able to see it on my end. So
and at the end of the day, some kind of weird delay today with the web.
There is, yeah.
Chat a ton. Eileen says so. They're coming in now.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, folks, this is what our business is about. How do we differentiate ourselves from the other 1.6 million real estate agents out there? And we've got to have a plan, right? So the question becomes, how do we do that? Well, we're going to use an online real estate auction to be able to accomplish that. And the benefit to us is, folks, is that you can carry at least 10 listings every day of the year, 365 days a year, in your pipeline by taking 2 to 3 new listings all the time. Now, it requires work, no question. It's a different approach, no question. But if we can take and be different and be able to offer our clients things that others aren't offering, can we agree that, well, we'll get more of them? And so I'm going to walk you through that process today of what that looks like, right? Now, here's the question that I really have for you guys. How are you going to compete for listings with other agents? I mean, there are lots of agents out there calling FSBOs expireds, right? How about the discount brokers? I was recently in Southern California. Man, all I heard was purple bricks and Redfin, purple bricks and Redfin every 5 minutes on the radio. How about REO brokers that are out there working with investors? What about the new technology coming along? I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Amazon is actually in the mortgage business right now. They're planning on coming into the real estate business. Like, what are you planning to do to compete with them? And then how about the Zillows, the Open Doors, the OfferPads, and all the other iBuyers out there? What are you doing to compete with that? Because they're out there, folks. It isn't even a function as this is going to happen. It's already happening in our market, right? I mean, I've got an example of, CNBC saying, hey, there's no more 6% commissions as brokers will sell it for a flat fee. That's your purple bricks, your Redfins, your Clevers, right? We have more and more real estate agents moving to just a flat fee like that. Well, what are you going to do to compete with that? Lower your commission? I mean, that's really your option, right? Well, what about all of our Open Doors, our, We Buy Ugly Houses and Zillows and Redfins and all that, right? I don't know if you guys know that, but Redfin is also an iBuyer. What are you going to do to compete with that? Because, well, I know you might be sitting there saying, well, all these iBuyers, like, you got to understand, they take 20, 30% of your equity. They're stealing your house. Yeah, I get it. But guess what, folks? They're doing it, right? Give you an idea, last year, just Open Door in Phoenix, the number 6 real estate market in the United States, has a 17% market share. Just one iBuyer, just one, has 17% market share. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means there's a certain percentage, 17%, for just Open Door, that are willing to give up a substantial portion of their equity in return for fast and no headaches. Now, if you add up all the rest of the iBuyers out there, and trust me, we are the epicenter of iBuyers out here. At the end of the day, we probably get about a 20 to 25% market share of people that are willing to give up their equity in exchange for fast and no headache. So you got to be able to answer that question. How are you going to take and sell my house fast? Now, the reality of it is, it's luck, right? Well, we can't leave it to luck, can we? And so we need to have an answer for this as we're out there competing. And folks, it's only getting worse. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. So we need to be able to deal with that. Do you guys know that Lennar is actually a key investor in Open Door? When you buy a Lennar home, you actually have to get, in order for them to accept your contract in California, you have to actually get a bid from Open Door and sign an agreement that if you can't sell it on your own, that you'll sell it to Open Door in order for them to accept your contract. I mean, my gosh, the builders are getting in on this now. They also happen to be an investor in them. Then we have our good friends at Zillow that launched instant offers that was supposedly about generating seller leads. But then they came to Arizona. They got a broker's license. They said, people, don't worry. We're not doing this. We're not getting a license for that. Well, then they started doing their own deals, testing it with a local real estate company. Well, and then they went and did it on their own. But they tell us we're not doing it, right? This was just in the newspaper this week. Zillow is moving a hub to Southwest Scottsdale to hire 160 jobs for recruiters. Who are they recruiting, folks? They're recruiting agents. So how are you going to compete for Zillow? Now, you might not have the level of competition with Zillow right now that we do in Arizona, but guys, it's coming to a market near you. The question is, how are you going to compete with all that? What are you going to do to compete with Redfin and Purple Bricks when they'll do it? Hey, I'll sell your house for 1% or 3,500 or 4,500. How are you going to compete with that? Have you guys thought about this before? Right? Then Zillow acquired a company called Mila, Mortgage Lenders of America, because, well, the very next day, Spencer Rascoff gets on TV and says, hey, I hope investors are changing the way they look at us as a place to advertise to a company that's involved in the entire transaction. Guys, they have huge amounts of money, and they're coming for our business. The question is, you sitting here today, what's your plan to deal with them? What's your plan to deal with Redfin, Purple Bricks, Clever, all the rest of them? What are you going to do? Right? Because, well, the iBuyers are willing to take, and you're going to lose equity, but I can do it fast and I can eliminate the headache. For the Purple Bricks and Redfin, I can get you a higher net because, well, you're not paying as much commission. How are you going to compete with that? How are you going to structure your business so that you have an answer to that? And so I'm going to show you that today. By the way, even the lenders are getting into our business. Y'all know who Quicken Loans is, right? So they have their Rocket Mortgage. Do you know that they've also formed their own in-house realty? They always did, but they just did a referral fee. Now they are actually taking leads, your customers that did a Quicken Loan, and the minute they get their debt ratio or credit score, or there's a certain value that they can assign to the equity on their credit report, do you know that they start marketing to buy another house? If they pull a mortgage credit report, they market them to buy a house and they turn it over to their Rocket Homes agent. My gosh, now you're going to have to compete with the lenders. And then, well, I don't know how many of you guys have seen this one about this bombshell lawsuit that now is coming out about suing the sellers because the sellers are paying the buyer broker commission. Now, I don't know what's going to happen to that. I mean, it'll take years and years to go through. But the point in all this, folks, is we have to sit down as an industry and understand who our competition is and how we compete with it. And I'm going to give you the answer, at least in my opinion, the answer to that today, right? So that becomes your challenge. What are you going to do to deal with all this? How many of you guys have actually thought about this and actually put together a business plan to say, hey, I've got a way to take and deal with this? And that becomes your question because we've got to deal with it, right? Now, here's the hard part, folks. Old habits die hard. We want to fall back into the habits of what we've been doing for years and years. If you've been a real estate agent 10, 15, 20 years, it's real easy to fall back on what you're doing or what you've done in the past. The problem with that is that's the definition of insanity. Technology is changing our business. I don't personally think it's going to replace us. And there's one reason that I say that, because of the liability. So when we hear that real estate agents are going to go away, I don't agree with that. The reason is because you'll never eliminate the liability in a real estate transaction. But it doesn't mean how we market, how we sell, and how we run our business isn't going to change. That there's no question it's going to change. So you can't sit back and go, well, I'm going to keep doing that because it worked. Right? For me, I think agents pouring money into Zillow to buy leads is absolutely crazy because we're feeding the beast that's competing against us. So we've got to start to look at doing things differently. So my goal is to take and talk about how do you start targeting FSBOs, expireds, and investors and being able to offer them a different approach. And so, well, why do we want to do that? Well, first of all, they're very simple to find, right? And they're actually pretty easy to convert into listings if you understand a few key facts. I'll give you an example. I use Redx to gather the FSBOs and expireds. But you don't have to do that. You can go to forsalebywowner.com, FSBO.com. Hey, here's a good use for Zillow. You can go to Zillow. So they're very simple to find. And once we understand, folks, there's really only one reason somebody decides to sell on their own. It's to save the commission, right? Because they think in their mind, the way that they net the most amount of money is to save the commission. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not, right? Just, last year, only 7% of all homes sold were sold by owner. And of that, 94% were sold to somebody they know. So we just have to understand the math on it. Well, here's the cool part. If commission is their only objection, and we could answer that, and we could say, hey, what if there was a way to charge you no commission and you still got paid anywhere from 30 to 6% on every listing? Wow, that would be an amazing thing, right? Well, there's a way to do that. And that's through online bidding and online auction. That's the strategy that I'm going to teach you today and show you how you can implement that into your business, right? Now, who's going to benefit from this call today? Because I think it's important. If this isn't what you're looking for, number one, agents that recognize the key to building a team is to maintain a consistent pipeline of leads, right? Number two, agents that understand generating leads from your listings is far better than buying them from Zillow. Folks, what would you rather have? A lead from Zillow or somebody at your open house sitting in front of you where you can form that relationship? Which one are you going to convert better? And so we're going to talk about how we generate leads from these listings. Agents that realize the business is changing and you got to change with it. Because folks, if you don't realize that, it's just going to bury you at some point, right? Agents that understand not only do you have to stay ahead of the trends in the business, but you have to stay ahead of their competition, including your own companies. Do you know that Coldwell Banker and Keller Williams are buying their own properties? Got our own brokers. Agents who worry about technology replacing them, but understand the way to fight competition is to provide value. And that's the key to success, right? Agents who are willing to put in the work, because guys, there's no free lunch. I'll just disclose this right now. There's work involved. And then finally, agents who want to thrive in any market, good or bad. Because I'm going to show you what our long-term goal and strategy for this is to work also on the REO side of the business, right? So there's three strategies that I'm going to go through today. Number one, why you should offer an online auction for all of your listings. Notice I said offer it. I didn't say do it. I said offer it. Number two, how to target FSBOs, expireds, REOs, and investors using the online auctions. And then finally, how to get the appointments of what to say in the listing presentation. But before I do get started, let me give you a quick rundown of who we are. That's my 23-year-old son, who is a licensed realtor that I work with here in Scottsdale. The truth is, guys, he's really good at today's technology. He's very good at marketing, Google, all this stuff. The kid's got it all going on today, right? Imagine being 23 years old and being able to learn this. I've been doing this for obviously much longer. I've spent the last 22 years as a lender, 17 years as a top producing realtor. I do business in California. I developed a multi-million-dollar a year system to generate leads and convert them speaking at a monthly seminar. I own my own brokerage for 9 years. I built the fastest growing exit franchise in their history, right? So I've done all this stuff on both sides of the business. And what I'm really good at, folks, is creating lead conversion systems for real estate and mortgage companies. What this is really about today, folks, is how do we convert leads, FSBOs, expireds, canceleds, at a higher rate and use that to take and build a team so that I don't have to work so hard. That's what this is for. Now, back in 2002, I was written up in National Relocation Real Estate Magazine. I was a lender first. My first year of real estate, I did $23 million in residential and about $41 million in loans. But the real reason I want to show you this, folks, is all the way in 2002, I was talking about how important it is to differentiate yourself, to give consumers good reasons to hire you. Because if you can't, they just won't hire you, right? So this isn't something new that I've been talking about how you differentiate yourself. I've been doing this for decades, right? Now, a couple other quick notes. I have investors in 42 major markets that will make cash offers on homes if you find a tenant to do a lease option with them, and then you get the whole 3% commission on the transaction. So now agents on my team are able to take and work on not only working with buyers and sellers, but they can also work with renters, but get a 3% commission, not a rental commission. And I also have an investor in 6 different states that'll make cash offers on homes. And when they flip the home, you get the listing and they pay you a full 6% commission. It's like all these people out there teaching realtors how to go to Open Door and OfferPad and get offers for people where there's nothing in it for the realtor is ridiculous to me. So I can take and help that. Thank you, Eileen. And so that will, is just some of the things that we'll talk about. And then I also have relationships with some of the top REO providers in the country who will run to our agents to use the platform I'm going to show you today. Actually, one of the agents on my team in Texas is the former director of REO for Freddie Mac. And I'll explain to you later on as we go through why that's important, right? So I'll get on into some of that stuff later. So let's talk about why you should offer an online auction for all of your listings. Well, it's pretty simple. When we walk into a property, we have three options for them. Say that fast 5 times. I can do a cash sale for you. I can do a traditional sale, or I can do an online auction. Now, there's benefits for all of it. So obviously, where I work, my investor will take and buy the property. And if they do buy the property, they'll offer them a little bit better price than what a Zillow and all the rest of them are. They're investors. But when they take and buy the property and flip it, they turn it back over to us and we list it for 6%. Wouldn't that be a better way to do it? Number 2, we can do a traditional sale just like every other agent. And then 3 is an online auction. My job is to be able to offer all 3 and be able to explain the benefits of each, right? So what I'm going to do today for you guys, just go through the online auction because it's radically different. I mean, most of you agree, probably haven't heard of that before, right? Well, here's the thing. How many of you have sold a HUD home? Now, I know there's a long delay on our stuff here for right now, so I won't wait for the answer. But how many of you actually sold a HUD home? And let me just kind of explain how it works. Number 1, it's an auction, isn't it? It's an online auction. So the way that it works in Arizona, just time frames are a little different in your markets, but it all works the same. They come out at 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. You have till 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning, the following Tuesday, to submit your offer, right? And the way that it works is, let's say you want to offer $200,000. You offer $200,000. They ask you how much you want to get paid. And let's say that you want to get paid 5%. So that's $10,000. You put $10,000. The sale price of the house is $210,000. That's how it works, right? And so I won't wait for a response, but guys, that's how it works. Well, here's the question. Why is HUD selling their properties by auction? I mean, think of it, guys. Why do all the banks sell their properties by auction? Now, it might vary in a different way. Like in Arizona, you sell them on the courthouse steps, but nonetheless, you sell them in an auction. Why do all the government agencies, VA, USDA, HUD, Fannie, Freddie, heck, the IRS sells stuff? Why do they do it? What do they know about auctions that the consumer doesn't, that you as the realtor don't? Well, they know that they can get a higher price, period. And that by creating an auction, they're going to make a better return on their investment. So the banks understand that. The government agencies understand that. Heck, folks, do you know that the wealthy understand it? This is a $35 million home that went to auction in Paradise Valley, Arizona, right? There's a company called Concierge Auctions. They do auctions all over the world, right? They primarily are in the $20 million plus category. But look at the growth rates from 2017 to 2018, up 125%, up 150. Folks, what in the world do the wealthy know, the government know, and that the banks know that the average consumers don't? And what if we could bring this to the average consumer? Because what those 3 entities or groups all know is that they can get better pricing in many cases and maximize their investment or the return on their investment by selling by auction. The problem is it isn't available to the everyday agent or the everyday consumer, is it? Until today. And so I do see your questions. I'm going to leave them till the end though, folks. Yes, auctions are legal in all 50 states. I don't know about Canada, but in the States, yes, right? So here's a company called Farah. Farah is about a 3-year-old company. They are kind of a quasi-auction platform. So I want to show them to you just because what I really want to take and bring home, in about 2 years, they've sold 600 homes. They're in Washington, California, and Arizona. They really don't do it by auction, but it's pretty close. The real reason I wanted to show you this, folks, is even a quasi-auction company is raising startup capital, 1.2 million from Himmel Capital, which back companies like Uber and Vroom, right? And Amit Patel, an early backer of Zillow and Redfin. Well, you're starting to see money coming into this, folks, and that's important to understand, right? Then there are articles like this in Forbes, hey, 4 reasons to sell your home at auction, right? And then here's an HGTV study where they did this. They interviewed this agent and said, hey, when the seller wanted to sell a house for $250,000, and he told us, the agent told the seller it'd be a no-brainer. In fact, the house actually sold for $275,000. But auction professionals say that it's about 11% of the time, auction homes sell for more than what the seller had previously listed the home for in a conventional sale. Well, previously listed for, doesn't that mean expired or canceled? And yet in auction, the real reason homes expire really is most about price, right? Could be a little bit about location or condition, but most of it is about price. Yet through auctions, 11% of the time they sell for more than what they expired for. So we just as agents have to be able to understand this is what's going on, right? And it's pretty simple, folks. Auctions simply utilize the science of pricing. It's real simple. We kind of know this, right? If you price a house at market value, about 60% of consumers who are qualified to buy at that price will come and look at it. Price at 10% above, it drops to 30. Price at 15% above, it drops to 10. Those are called expired listings. But if you price at 10% below, 75% will look at it, and 90% will look at it if you price at 15% below. Isn't our job, folks, to get as many potential buyers to look at a property as we can? That's what our job is, right? I mean, if you look a seller in the face and said, hey, I have 300 people that came into your house this weekend to look at making an offer on the house, can we agree that seller would be really happy with you? I mean, you're not going to do that in a traditional sale, are you? And so we're able to take and do that through this platform, right? Now, there are some benefits of selling a home using an auction. Well, first and foremost, the sales process is real simple, right? Now, I say that it requires no negotiating on your end, but if you don't end up getting the price that you wanted in auction, you can go back and negotiate. So pretty simple. You don't have to accept the auction offer. They're under no obligation. We simply disclose seller has the right to accept, reject, or negotiate. So they have nothing to lose by doing it that way. The buyer pays most or all of the real estate commissions, just like the HUD homes. It's called buyer's premium, and I'll talk about that for a minute. Because, well, we have to get paid, don't we? We just have the buyer pay it. The auctions work, right? The auction deadline creates buyer urgency. It isn't like, hey, we put it on the market and we hope it sells in 90 days. No, there's a beginning time and there's an end time. That creates buyer urgency. The typical timeline for an auction is anywhere from 14 to 30 days. What that means, guys, is it eliminates like carrying costs and headaches for them. If the house is already vacant, well, they're making 2 mortgage payments. Well, this is a faster way of doing it. The other thing is, if I can sell your house in 14 days for top dollar and you pay no commission, what incentive do you have to go to like Open Door Offer Pad and say, hey, let me give up 20 or 30% of my equity so that I could get it done? Because the way that we do these, folks, is that in order to bid, you have to be a pre-approved buyer. So in reality, if it takes me 14 days to establish a sales price, I can close in 14 days. I can close just as fast as an Open Door and Offer Pad, except you get to keep your commission. And I'm going to eliminate your headache, right? You get to set the terms and day of your auction so that you can plan your life accordingly. The way that we do it, there is no lockbox that goes on the property, right? We want to eliminate the headache for the agent. I'm sorry, for the owner. We don't want people traipsing in, calling, hey, I'm out in front of your house. Can I come and look at it? that's what they don't like, right? Can we agree an expired listing, that's what they hate most of all. So here's what we're going to do. There's no lockbox going on in the house. We're going to do an open house on Saturday and Sunday before the end of the auction. That's when you can come in and see it. So all the seller has to understand is that Saturday and Sunday, you'll have to go do something. So now we're in control of when people see their house. The competitive bidding process helps you receive the true market value for your property. Because let's think of it this way, folks, who actually determines the value of a property? Is it us? You know, we walk in with our comps and say, hey, this is what your neighbor sold the house for, and so this is the value of your house. Who are we to determine that? Who's the appraiser to determine that? The price of a house is what somebody's willing to pay for the house. And so a bidding process allows you to do it, right? And then finally, you got experienced professionals handling all the marketing, promotion, and paperwork and the actual auction. So those are pretty big benefits to a seller, right? So at the end of the day, well, that's pretty cool for the seller, but well, what about the buyer? Well, they have complete control over buying the house they want. It eliminates the multiple blind offer situations. I won't even ask the question because I know if you've been in real estate for any length of time, you've all had that happen, right? Where you're out there showing houses and you've been into like 4 or 5 different multiple blind offer, right? And we're writing letters, hey, let me tell you why the buyer wants to buy this house. Well, an online auction eliminates all that, folks. We have complete price transparency. They have the ability to get the house that they want as long as they're willing to pay for it. They have the ability to preview the house before bidding, so there's no hidden surprises, right? It's not like an auction on a foreclosure where you don't get to look at the house. And then here's the cool part, which I'll talk about buyer's premium in a minute. But if they don't have an agent, I could give up a little bit of buyer's premium, the commission, to get it. I mean, how many guys, if you had somebody walk in and said, no, I don't have an agent, or I have an agent, but I'd reduce my buyer's premium by 1%, so you could get 5% for your listing. How many guys would be willing to do that? And then there's just a normal contract and closing process. Traditional financing is accepted. Here's the way it really works, folks, so that I can kind of explain it in the easiest way possible for you. All the online auction does is establishes the sales price. That's all it is. It establishes the contract price. Once that price has been reached, we write a contract just like a traditional sale. Nothing different. But here's where it comes in handy. This gentleman was looking to buy a house up in the Seattle market. Wrote an offer. He was 1 of 5. Found out he was, in a multiple offer, but they didn't even give him a chance. They just accepted the highest offer. They never gave him a chance to submit a counter offer. Excuse me. 6 weeks after he closed, he went online, looked at what they paid, and found out he was willing to pay $35,000 more for the house. Well, folks, in that scenario, the buyer lost, the seller lost, and the agent lost. If they would have done this on an online auction where he had the ability to pay what he was willing to pay for it, he would have got the house that he wanted. The sellers would have got $35,000 more, and the agent's commission would have been a little bit bigger. That's why online auctions are so powerful. The seller wins, the buyer wins, and the agent wins. But what's that look like, right? So let's talk about this buyer's premium. Folks, all it is, the buyer's paying the commission. There's nothing more fancy to it than that. Now, the way that we do a traditional listing, we just mask it a little differently. The money is going to end up being the same. It's just how we explain it and how it shows. But the buyer's premium is nothing more than what happens on a USDA, a VA, or a HUD home. You simply take and establish the price you want to pay. You add in your commission. HUD looks at that price, $210, and they accept it based on that. It's no different than that. So this is where agents get more confused on this. The public, the truth is the public actually catches on very quickly. But we struggle with it because it's different. Guys, it's no different than buying a HUD home. None. So how does that work? Well, the question would become, let's say I have a $300,000 house. You listed for $300,000. I listed for $282,000, yet the seller nets the same amount of money. How does that work? Well, tell me this, guys. Is this kind of how your normal listing presentation goes? You get to the pricing part. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what were you thinking about selling the house for? And they go, well, $300,000. Great. How did you come up with that price? Well, I seen on Zillow these other things, and we figure, we're going to have commissions, some closing costs, so we need to net at least $275 so we have enough to put down on the new house. Is that pretty much how it works? Right? In most cases. And so that's just a traditional listing. So what we do is we actually just say, well, we're going to actually list the price at a lower price, and we're going to have the buyer pay the commission. So in this scenario, I would list it for 282, you would list it for 300. The buyer's still going to pay the commission. It's just how it happens. So here's basically what it looks like, folks. On the left is a traditional listing. You went into the house, they said, yep, 300,000, you're going to pay 18,000, 3,000 in commission, 279 is what the seller nets, 300 is what the buyers pay. In our scenario, we did it on an online auction. Let's assume we ended up at $282,000 was the final bid price. Then we have to add the buyer's premium, which in this case would be $16,920. So we had 282 plus 16,920. The buyer ends up paying $298,920. The seller nets $279,011. We end up at the same place, don't we? We just show the commission being paid differently, right? Remember those lawsuits that are saying, hey, the buyers aren't, the sellers are paying the buyer's commission? Boy, that would take care of that problem, wouldn't it? Guys, the buyer's paying the commission one way or the other. It's just how we couch it. Let's be honest. So at the end of the day, we're just being transparent. Well, why is that an advantage? Well, it's exactly how HUD does it, right? So it's no different than what the government's doing or any other auction house. Every auction house works with the buyer's premium. The reality of it is, guys, most of them are working on 10, 12% open or buyer's premiums. And now we're able to utilize the science of pricing. Well, what does that mean? Well, which house would attract more attention? If the same house, I had a house listed at 300 and I had a house listed at 240, which is going to attract more buyers? It's just common sense, right? I'm going to get more buyers through the house by listing it as a starting bid of 240 than I am at listing it at 300, right? I'm going to get 60% of the potential buyers to look at it, or I'm going to get 90% of the potential buyers to look at it. That's all it is. Which one gives you the more likelihood to be able to sell the property? Which one gives you more traffic to generate leads from in an open house? And so that's why we do it. So here's how that process works. That's what it looks like. We have a system, a marketing system that Ryan built and put into place and created all the templates for it, that everything we do is designed around marketing the open house. It's not around sending it to a lead capture page. It's not designed about, gathering a lead and then you drip email campaigns on them. It's not for that, folks. It's about being face-to-face with potential buyers. What do you think would happen if you put 100 of these signs out for an open house and you put that kind of a marketing plan in place so that, let's say that we were targeting, some Facebook ads, some Google pay-per-click, Instagram, your post on Craigslist, you made videos, you get it out on LinkedIn, Pinterest, you slide dial into the neighborhood, you send a property blast out for a $300,000 house for $240 to all the realtors in your market. What if you were able to target renters within, let's say, a 3 to 5 mile radius of where the property is at that have the same rent payment or close to it that they would have as a mortgage payment? And what if you knew that their lease expired, let's say 90 days from now, 90 to 180 days from now, and you kept inviting them to these auction open houses so that you could meet them face to face instead of throwing them to a lead capture page to get a thing and then drip on them? Which way is going to convert more business for you? The other thing is, what happens when people are in the house and they see this and they go, wow, I guess we're not paying $240 for it. The psychology of auctions kicks in. And the cool part, folks, is you have all these people to talk to, because your job at the open house, obviously we want to sell the house, but it's also to pick up the buyer leads, isn't it? Now, again, full disclosure, I want to sell every listing. But if you walked out of there and you picked up 13, 14, 15 buyers that are already pre-approved, would you be okay with that? Because I obviously want to sell the house, but it's also to pick up buyers. And so our aggressive marketing campaign is real simple. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you have to leave the house on Saturday and Sunday. Let us do our job. I have my lender there that does pre-approvals. I have to have more than one agent there, obviously. So we have to think about that. Now, we also have the ability to take and send a letter like this out to neighbors, to renters, like at the push of a button, where you could pick your target market and send it out. and everything is geared towards those open house. So James on my team did an open house. The house was priced at it was worth about 500, priced it at $425,000. He did 0 paid promotions. Had 100 people come through in only 5 hours. 100 in 5 hours, folks, right? This young man had 300 people in a day. 300. Robert, I think if you haven't, you'll get a video. He had over 300. He actually had 341 buyers. He had 47 pre-approvals, and they're working with 13 buyers right now in San Diego. Average price of about $700,000. Now that's an open house, right? This is actually an open house that I took part in, probably, I think it's about 4 weeks ago. This house was in the middle of nowhere, Banning, California, up in the foothills. There was no like busy streets that you could drive traffic to, nothing. We spent no money on Facebook ads, none of it. But we had 60 people come in. The starting bid on this house was $199,950. We ended up selling it at $315,000. It actually closed on Monday. The funny part is we were doing this, folks, is the buyers were coming in and we explained how it worked. And we just said, well, you get the house at a lower price. They had the buyer's premium. They just looked at us and go, okay, cool. We had neighbors coming in going, wow, I actually wish I was selling my house. I can't believe how many people are here. The funny part is I'm sitting at this open house telling our lender, my gosh, I'm embarrassed. This is a horrible open house. We had like 24 people in by noon. And she goes, horrible open house? She says, this more people than I get like sitting in open houses all weekend. That's the power of what this does, right? Now, the way that this one worked, we didn't end up getting the price that they wanted. The agents messed up how they bid, and they thought they were registering and stuff, so it allowed us to get a little bit smarter. But the final bid was $280,000. That was not what the seller was willing to accept. But we had 19 people that ended up registering to bid on the house. We simply called this buyer up, said that this price isn't what the seller wanted. They wanted $300,000 plus the buyer's premium. I have 18 other people that wanted to bid on this house. I'll give you an hour, get a hold of your sellers and let me know what you want to do. They accepted the offer, and it closed this Monday. So even if it didn't hit the price, folks, we have the ability to negotiate. So that's how that one worked. This one actually was last Friday. It ended up with 13 bids. The original, what the seller was going to be happy with, was $170,000, right? Oops. What did I do? I must have dropped that off, or I deleted that. They ended up at $175,300 is where they ended up. Seller was ecstatic, right? That's the magic of auctions. What we want to do is by pricing the house low, driving a lot of traffic into it, our goal is to get them to bid more. So let's just use as an example that same $300,000 house. Well, if we could drive the price of that bidding up from $282,000 to just $290,000, right? What would it look like? Well, the seller would net $287,100. The buyer would pay $307,400. Is that enough to probably knock out the appraisal? It's not, is it? The truth is, like that guy in Seattle, he was more than willing to bring cash to the table because it had a pond in the backyard, right? So our job is not to try and tell the seller what the house is worth. Let's let the market tell the seller what the house was worth. And that's the beauty of auctions, right? Remember, our job is to get the highest possible price. We do that with the auction. We let the market speak. What if the market speaks and says, hey, I had 300 people come in, but nobody's willing to pay that price? Well, the market spoke, didn't it? I can do it fast because it only took me 14 days. And guys, there's nothing in writing, right? That house that we did in Banning, that was a 7-day auction. So we did it fast. And we did it with the least amount of hassle because we only did an open house one weekend. And yet I can close just as fast as Zillow, Open Doors, OfferPad, all of them, except you didn't have to give up your equity. So the only way that you can do that, as far as I can tell, is to do that with online auctions. Oop. So Gene just asked, what will happen if it appraises for more? They either have to bring cash in or we got to go negotiate, just like any other deal, folks. That's all it is. It's just like every other deal. No different. So this is what your business could look like, right? You could go out and be the one who gets the listings and drives the open house traffic. But let's be honest, folks. Could you handle an open house? Let's say, I'll give you a smaller one. We only had 221 people at an open house in Temecula a couple Saturdays ago. Could you handle an open house on your own? with 221 people in it? The answer is no. So it forces you to take and go out and build a team. So let me give you a scenario. Well, if you get good at taking listings, and let's say you need on average, well, let's even just say you have 10 listings and you could get away with one agent. You have to go out and hire the agents to sit the open houses. Let's say that you have them pay just a 30% referral fee. Let's say your average price is $250. I know if you're in California watching this, that's not even a casita. But on a $250,000 purchase price, after that 30% fee, they'd be, each one of those agents sitting those open houses would be paying you $4,500 a month. If you had 8 agents sitting open houses, that's $36,000. Well, the reality is, folks, is because of the number of people that we put into the open houses, you can't have one agent sitting there. You really need 2. So the reality of this is if you have 10 listings, you're going to need to hire 20 agents to sit your open houses. Do you think it's easy in your market to be able to find people that would want to just take and spend Saturday and Sunday and have all the business come to them? Just, I promise you it is. Well, don't forget, folks, you got to look at the income, because let's just say you sell 4 of the listings. So every month you got to keep replenishing 4 listings so that you keep your pipeline at 10. Isn't this the kind of business that was outlined in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent? That's what our goal is. Everybody that we work with, our goal is to do this. I'm going to share with you a bigger goal on top of that. This is what your business could look like if you think big enough, right? So now I will ask you this one. So are you guys starting to see the power of an auction? How many of you guys are minds it's racing yet? You know, just racing. Raise your hand. Put a hell yeah in the box. Let me know you're here. Are you guys getting the power of this stuff? Listen, guys, I know that there's a bunch of stuff that you'll need to understand, and you'll have to listen to it, and we'll have to teach you, and etc. No question about it. It's different. Crazy. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I love Bonnie's. It's awesome.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, guys, this is what this is about. Because, wow, does this not compete with your Redfin and Redfin and Purple Bricks? So they go, hey, I'll sell your house for 1%. You go, oh my gosh, why would you pay 1%? Pay 0. So that took care of that. Well, why would you give away all your equity to Open Door, OfferPad, and all those guys when I can take and get it sold and closed in the same time frame, yet you get to keep all your equity? And then, you know, you don't have to give it away. Theo says you list all homes for sale on auction. Theo, I give the customer the option. And so now what happens is you do. So yeah, Derek said, yeah, you're competing with the Redfins, the Open Doors. You're not actually competing with them, guys. You're beating them, right? Hey, Redfin, 1.5%, whatever their listing commission is. Why would you pay that? You could pay 0. 0 commission, 0 fees with me. Well, now we took care of them. We took care of the Open Doors and OfferPads. We took care of competition in your market. We didn't just like compete with them. We beat them at their own game. But I do get that it takes a little bit, you know, it's got to sink in. I get it, right? So later on, I'm going to take and show you how you can take and implement this stuff into your business, right? So let's talk about how you target the FSBOs, expireds, etc., right? So remember, we agreed FSBOs, the number one reason, really the only reason they decide to sell without an agent is the commission. Well, the buyer's premium eliminated that, didn't it? So we don't have that as an obstacle. So we already kind of went through the script. But let's be honest, folks, some people aren't open-minded, and gosh, getting them on a phone is hard enough, right? So one of our guys actually texted this actually Robert that did it, and this is actually the house where he had the 341 people show up at the open house. He actually texted this to him. Now, I wouldn't say and close within 10 days. I would disagree with him on that one, so full disclosure. I would say under contract in 10 days. But guess what? He ended up listing that, got 341 people into the open house. So gosh, you could text, right? What if you had signs like this out in your market? One of my guys in Seattle took and did this and literally was meeting another agent because he was hiring an agent to sit the open house, had it sitting on his table inside of Starbucks. And I blocked out his name and his website address and all that stuff. And literally had 3 people walk up to him. One of them was an investor that he listed 6 homes with him, sitting in a Starbucks because he had this sign sitting up on a table. He's now taken 7 listings from that, and 2 of them are multiple listings from investors from a sign that he put out, a bandit sign. This one. right? So I use RedX personally, and I'm working on an affiliate deal where like you wouldn't pay the setup on it, so that would be cool, right? But let's look at do some math here, folks, because again, we complicate the real estate business. What if we just focused on listings and we focused on 4 things: FSBOs, expireds, canceled, investors? That's all we had to focus on. So why do that? Well, according to NAR, 84% of FSBOs will list their home. Last year, only 7% of homes were sold by the owner, and of those, 94% were sold to somebody that they knew. So their marketing and stuff doesn't work. And then 70% of FSBOs will list with the first agent they speak with. The truth is, folks, I don't have to be the first because I've got something that nobody else has. And if I just understand 84% of those people, if I download a list from RedX today and 100 people are on there, you just need to know 84% are going to list. You just have the tenacity. You have to have the tenacity to get out in front of them. So that's all it really is. But how many guys would spend 3 to 5 hours a week? And let's say all you did was target 10. That's it. Like 10. How many guys would spend the time? Because then you target 40 homes. 70% of them are going to end up listing. You get 28% of them. And let's say you only closed half of them. Let's not go crazy, right? That'd be 14 closings a month. Let's just say the average commission's $4,500. I know in California that's not, but I want to be as conservative as possible. Guys, would you spend 5 hours a week to make that kind of money? What do you think? What if it's half that? I mean, let's be honest. Excuse me. According to NAR, the average agent makes the average agent makes $42,000 according to NAR. According to salary.com, the average agent makes $38,000. So let's meet in the middle. They make $40,000 a year. You could do that in a month if you have the right strategy, if you target properly, if you'll do the right things, right? So then we just call them, right? We call expireds using the same script, basically, right? Hey, this is Bob with EXP, and notice your home hadn't sold yet. I was just calling to see what the heck happened. Still planning on moving? No, we're really holding off. Blah, blah. Hey, if I had a platform specifically designed for sellers like you where your house didn't sell the first time, but you pay 0 commissions or fees, you get top dollar for your house in only 14 days, you control when your home is shown, and we control when the home is shown, we handle the entire transaction. Can I just stop by for 20 minutes and show you what that looks like? Even if you're selling your house 6 months from now, at least when you sell it, can you do that? Folks, how many expireds are going to invite you into the house? And then you walk them through that. Because, well, we just have to understand the number on expireds, right? 91% of them are going to end up listing with someone. Here's what I can tell you, folks, from having experience up to this day of calling FSBOs and expireds, they just don't answer their phones anymore. If the FSBOs don't answer your phones after 3 or 4 attempts, here's the cool part. You just know they're in the 84% that are going to end up having to list because they're not selling it. So I have a solution for that. I'll show you in the marketing part of what we're going to talk about. But expireds, they don't answer their phone. So we have a solution for that too. But they're going to end up listing with someone, guys. Average agent will close 66% of their listing appointments. Same thing. If you spend 5 hours a week, you target 10 expireds, and all you can do is convert half of them into appointments, right? You're not even that good. The whole 0 commission, the whole, sell it in 14 days, just not huge compelling. You only get half of them. You target 40 homes a month. You get 20 appointments. You list 13 of them based on the 66% close rate. Half of them close, $27,000 a month. In case you forgot, folks, that's $100,000 a month. Does this come without work? No. Does this come without a cost? No. Because the reality of it is these expireds aren't going to they're not going to answer their phone in many cases. So we're going to send them a postcard, a letter, a postcard. So there's work involved in this, but how many guys would do that work for $100,000 a month? Raise your hand on that one. What if it was only 50? What if like you were really bad and it was only 50? How many guys would do it for $50,000 a month? How many people are really willing to work that hard to do that? So I do see all your questions, folks. We're going to answer them at the end, right? Can we agree? I mean, it's kind of a rhetorical question that those results would completely change your business. It would change your cash flow. And it would change your life because you're not laying in bed anymore worrying about, oh my gosh, how am I paying the mortgage? How am I paying the bills? Where's my next deal coming from, right? What would that do for you peace of mind wise? Forget the money, peace of mind. What would it do? right? Oh, here's another one. Do you think you could start calling on home builders now for people that haven't sold their house, where like they're coming down to the end of the rope going, hey, they haven't sold their house yet, and the builder won't be able to close on their house? Or just being able to talk to the builders about, hey, send your people to me so that I can sell their house this way, so we can get it under contract so that they can close on your house. Or are you just going to go in as a regular agent and say, hey, I'm a good agent, I've been doing this 20 years and I'm, well known in the valley, right? What do you have that's different to approach a home builder about? I didn't think about it, right? Here's another great resource for listings. What about all these wholesaling and real estate investment clubs? How many of you guys think that like people who do fix and flips would love to take and sell their properties by auction? I have a team of fix and flips agents joining my team. They closed 17 homes last month. They're joining because they want to take and sell their properties this way. Now I can go to these things and be able to have something that's unique to talk to potential investors. Start going to these real estate investment clubs. My gosh, imagine for sale by owner, expired, cancels, investors. What about probate? What about probate attorneys whose their job is their fiduciary responsibility to the probate people, the families, are to get the best price for their assets? Now I can start talking to probate attorneys. If you're just an everyday agent, folks, right now, what do you talk to a probate attorney about? But here's a little bit bigger picture. What about foreclosure? What about REO? Now, I want to be totally upfront with you. There's not a ton of REO out in the marketplace right now. But we have a bigger plan for what we want to do with REO, because so much of my team has so much experience in REO. I want to give you an idea. If you think you could just go to, and this is actually the time that you would do it, where you'd start applying. It's not when the market would tank. And again, I'm going to give you my opinion, folks. I don't see us doing another 2008 or anything like that. But you have to take and you go through a selection process to start working with Freddie Mac. You think that they're just going to work with any agent that does the same thing as every other agent, right? Here's another large servicer, one of the top 5 servicers. Here's a pre-qualification survey. You fill out a survey. If you don't like pre-qualify, like you don't do something different, they're not working with you. So our goal is to take and build a nationwide network of agents for REOs. And so that we have a whole group of agents that are experienced in selling their property by auction, which is how the REO providers get the properties, right? They have to go to auctions and buy them back. So they understand auctions. And now we can approach all these big vendors and say, hey, we have a team of 200 agents across the US that already are local experts in selling homes via auction. And because of our team, we're experts at teaching them. Do you think when we say, hey, on our team, we have the former head of Freddie Mac REO division that teaches our agents about REO? Do you think we won't have some clout when we sit down with them? And so that's a bigger picture. That's not ready yet, but that's where we're getting to. And so if the market ever does shift, guess what? You're in a position, good market or bad, to be in a great place. That's all it comes down to, right? So the question is, guys, what would it be worth to you to like build a business that would look like that, right? Long term, think about it. What if you had a team of people sitting in your open houses paying you, just call it 30%, and you're able to start tapping into like more and more investors, probate attorneys, builders, FSBOs, canceled, expired? What would that be worth to you long term, right? So think about it. Now, how do we get the appointments and what do you say in the listing? Well, it's actually pretty simple, folks, right? So we're going to let's just use the FSBO script. You already got that, right? Just in case you go, well, hey, can you really do that? I mean, can you really do that? I'm going to turn this up. It might be a little bit hard to hear. Chris is one of my agents here in Phoenix.
All right, so hey, everybody, just wanted to do a quick video here, and this is an agent here in Phoenix. And Chris, you've been doing auctions now for what, a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, about 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. And how many listings have you taken in that time?
Well, I have 5 listings.
Okay, so 5 listings in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible, huh? Everybody'd hate to have that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it's horrible.
All right, so hey, everybody.
So Chris is also an investor who does fix and flips. What we didn't answer in there, he also picked up 4 flips, which is pretty cool. And so that's what understanding that taking a different approach when talking to a FSBO is critical. If you're just calling FSBOs using the same script that everybody else is using, folks, you're going to get the same results as everybody else, right? And so here's the cool part. Well, what if you can't get a hold of the seller? FSBO expired otherwise. Well, what if you could send a letter or a postcard, right, via direct mail, like that? And then I could take and call and leave a message. Hey, I sent you some information in the mail about being able to sell your home with no commission or fees. Or you send them a text message. If you started doing that, folks, how many listings would you own? We have the same approach for an expired, just a listing letter on that. We have postcards for that. And we can do that at the click of a button. Guys, can we agree if they're not paying commissions or fees and you can sell it fast, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult for a seller to say no to that, isn't it? And that's what our job is. Put the odds for success in your favor, so I make it almost impossible for you to say no to working with me. Well, if I can get you more money faster and less headache, aren't you going to choose me a lot more often than you're going to choose somebody else or to keep doing it on your own? It's just logical. And if you get aggressive about building this, you can have one heck of a business. Now, what do you say when you're in the home? Well, here's what I'll tell you guys. You got to stop doing this stuff. Well, what if I give you good service? I've been in the Valley for 20 years. My clients love me, all that stuff. That's hooey. Stop doing this. This is my all-time favorite. I go in with my 89-point marketing plan. 82 of them are things that you're supposed to do in the listing presentation. Stop doing that. You got to go in with something different. So we use our listing presentation where we walk them through this. Again, this isn't something I tell you open and sit at the kitchen table and walk step by step. It's real simple. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I got 3 ways to sell your home: cash, traditional, online auctions. Cash, let me explain how it works. Traditional, you get it. Online auction, let me explain. So I did see somebody ask the question, well, what if they don't want to do it that way? Guys, my job is to get you in the door. Your job is to close it. Is it okay if you went in the door and you got in there with the online auction and they said, no, I just want to do a traditional sale? Is that okay? That's the key. We just need to get in the door, and I want to give the seller options, right? Then I'm going to show them the marketing strategy that we put in place, right? We're going to talk about the online auction, how that works. We're going to talk about how you price the property and why that's important, right? So we're going to give them all these things. We'll go through numbers with them. That's why I know as you're watching this, guys, this won't all stick with you. You probably have to watch it a couple of times, but don't worry. It's just a function that you go through. Once you get it, it's very powerful, right? Now, here's the cool part. Imagine sitting at a seller's open house. This is the one that I did show you. That now what I do is the day of the auction, I'm sitting in the house. I bring over some, whatever, some hors d'oeuvres and, some wine and beer and whatever. We're sitting there watching this. And we have a countdown and we watch this happen. So this literally was right before the end of this auction, right? So this is the one that started out at 170. You could see the next auction was 173.5. Then it came in, the next one came in at 173.750, then 174.800, and then the final one was $175,300. Imagine being in their house when that happened. Imagine inviting over their friends and relatives to do that. Man, talk about a client party, if you will, and come over and watch that happen. Imagine inviting some of the neighbors. So when we did that house in Banning, we had a bunch of the neighbors come through going, man, we wish we were selling their house. This is really cool. Well, hey, why don't you come over? We're going to bring the day of the auction goes off. We're going to take and bring over some wine and some food and come over and watch the end of it. We got 21 bids on this house and ended up selling it for 175.3. Imagine that. What's the power of that relationship? How cool is that? We ended up selling it 173.5. So how many of you guys think that this would be like a great addition to your business? So give me a hand or a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Go ahead, raise your hand, give me hell yeah.
Questions? Crazy hell yeah. Duh. I guess that's a hell yeah. Yep. Sign me up now. Bonnie's all in. I love Bonnie. Cool. Yes. The consensus is yes.
So you get it, right, guys? It's a different way of doing business. Yep, you'll have to learn a little bit. So let's talk about how that works, right? So I'm going to show you exactly how you can do all this. So before we do that, let me give you a couple quick questions. Hopefully you've been taking notes frantically here. But in the past hour, degree, it's been time well spent. We promised you that you haven't seen this before, and you haven't seen it before, have you? Right? And the truth is, guys, I can't cover all this in an hour. I could if we had all day. You're going to need to listen to it a couple times. I get it. But if it's okay, can I share the whole system with you, how you could actually do this? Because I've seen lots of questions. How would I have a website and all those other things? That's what we're going to talk about. Is it okay to do that with you? Raise your hand. Give me a hell yeah. I like to ask for permission. If I didn't get your mind racing, I didn't get you excited, then I didn't do my job. All right, cool. See lots of that. Then we're going to give you a special offer because you work with Josh to implement that. But let me give you a couple disclosures real quick. If you're in the following states, we are not yet licensed in there. So there are 8 states in the U.S. that require an auctioneer's license. So in these 4, we need a license. If you're watching this and you're in the Phoenix market, you and I would have to talk. Now, there's a couple other states, Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia, that an auctioneer's license is required. And so we work a little bit differently than what I'm going to show you in here because we have an auctioneer involved, right? So there's only 8 states in the country that require that. So if you're in those states, I want to just give you a full warning up here. The other thing, guys, just so you know, we're not building this to make this some massive online auction company. There's a method to our madness. We only want to take and work with 200 agents across the U.S. I know for the person who asked in Canada, I don't know if it's legal in Canada. I do have somebody checking on it for me. But in the U.S., we're only looking to do this with 200 people. And I'm going to give you full disclosure if it's okay. Both Josh and I are looking to build our expansion teams across the U.S. and Canada so that 3 to 5 years from now, that agents that we plug into this platform, 80% of your income would come in from passive activity. What does that mean? From the work we would do now, from let's say 2 years from now or 3 years from now, whatever work you did on that, you keep getting paid on, and 20% will come from closing real estate transactions. Now, if you're interested in talking to us about that, Josh is going to send you his Calendly link where you can schedule a time and we'll talk to you about how that would work. But full disclosure, this is what we're looking to do, because what we're looking for, folks, is to help agents build this. And if you'll do this, I can show you how to turn that into hundreds of thousands of dollars a year before you close your first real estate transactions. How many of you guys would like to have that? How many of you guys would like to make like $250 before you close a real estate transaction every year? Bonnie goes, I'm patiently waiting. So if you're interested in that, Josh is going to send you his Calendly link. We'd love to talk to you about it, right? So that is our ultimate goal. So here's what we're going to do for the next 36 hours. Here's what you're going to need first and foremost. Well, you're going to need a website to do this. Just so you understand, guys, the auction is 100% done online. There's no live calling auctioneer outside. Even in the states where it's required for an auctioneer license, we do not do what's called a live call auction. It is all handled on the website. You input your house. You input what your parameters are on it, like, hey, this is when it starts, this is when it ends, a few things like that. And the website will handle all of it. But it also does have provisions in there for you to send people to your IDX so that you can generate leads and things like that. It'll put things out into social media. So it's all designed to handle that for you. So you're going to need that website to do it, obviously, right? But there's more than you're going to need. We did a 4-week mastermind mentorship. Next week is week 4 of it. The other 3 are recorded, where I walked through all the steps, the processes, all of it, so that our people understand it. So it'll be recorded and in there. And then all the documents and everything that you're going to need, because you're going to have all kinds of stuff, like the listing presentation. We're going to send you the listing presentation. Obviously, you have to customize it. I have Ryan's picture in there. You know, I put in fake cell phone numbers and things like that so you don't blow up his phone. So you're going to have to make that change in there, right? So we're going to give you that, right? We're going to give you all the scripts, the NODs, the letters, the postcards, all of it, right? We're going to give you the investor letters and postcards. We're currently working on inputting into each dashboard where you'll click a button, and let's say you go, it's Monday morning, you go to RedX, you pick up the new list of all the FSBOs and expireds, you upload the CSV file to their website, and the postcards and the letters instantly go out. So literally, it'll be a couple clicks of a button, and you'll be able to take and send the postcards out. And then I teach a system how the first week you send that out, the second week you start calling, third and fourth week you send a follow-up, and you're calling and texting through that. If you do that, folks, your volume will just explode, right? Because, well, let's be honest, FSBOs, expireds are not answering their phones, right? We're going to give you a social media video script that you use before you do an open house. Well, what else are you going to need? How about all the social media? So what Ryan did is he put together all the social media and advertising templates that you need. And literally all you have to do, folks, is change the picture of the house. And if yours isn't, say, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, you change the description. He put together screenshots of all the targeting for the Facebook ads, so you didn't even have to think about it. There's the targeting. Did the same thing on pay-per-click and Instagram. Gave samples of the Craigslist templates, the Pinterest. If you're a High-Tech Video Pro member, we gave you the YouTube templates. We gave you all the templates. You don't even have to think about it, folks. Up to and including all the targeting. So even if you're not a Facebook whiz, well, he did all that for you already, right? So the whole idea is that you have a plug-and-play marketing system to drive traffic to the open house. This is about driving traffic not to your lead capture page that you're going to drip emails. This is about getting in front of live human beings that are in the market to buy or sell properties, period. So we put a plug-and-play system in place for you to do that, right? What else do you want? We also have it set up. We have a special deal with Thanks.io. Many of you guys know Ryan Hartman. That's his company to automate that system. And so that's all it really comes down to. All you have to do is send an Excel spreadsheet, and the cards are the letters that you want, and it goes out. We want to make the marketing as simple as possible, because your job would be to take and get the listings and fill the open houses. Then we have to hire people to sit there and do it. So when we put the pricing together, guys, we had two choices. We could go as cheap as possible. I could get every agent to sign up if we wanted. But it doesn't incentivize us to work closely with us. Both Josh and I are going to work closely with the members of our expansion teams to take and build this stuff in place. The second option, it requires a little higher investment. In full disclosure, I did it so it attracts the more serious agent so that we can devote the resources we need to radically change their lives. Not a little bit, not some, radically. So here's how it works. Our regular membership is $299 a month plus a $200 setup fee. So we're going to do for the next 36 hours for Josh's group. It's $299 for the first month. And then it's $199 after that. And so we're going to charge you basically what we're doing here. We're charging you $100 for the setup fee, and then you're going to save $33 a month on the regular monthly fee. It is a 12-month commitment, so I want to be upfront with you. It is a 12-month commitment. This isn't something that we want to go through all the work and effort and go, well, I want to give it a try for a month. Guys, it doesn't work like that. So I just want to be totally upfront with you. It's a 12-month commitment. It's $199 a month for Josh's group. You save 33% on it, right? Now, we also have where you can pay upfront on an annualized basis. Typically, that's $19.99. You can get it for, $29.99. So we'll do it for the next 36 hours for $19.99. What that means is you don't pay anything for setup, and you're getting 2 months free. So you're saving a bunch of money. It's your call. We're happy either way. So either monthly at $199, the first month is $299, and then $19.99 if you want to pay upfront, you save a bunch of money. Because guys, we all know that you pay me a 25% referral fee on a $300,000 listing, right? That's $2,250. I mean, you pay for the year up front, and it's less than one referral fee. It's like, it's priced well, right? But here's what I also want you to remember. It's not how much money you make. It's also how much money you keep. So for me, I'm about turning this system into a cash machine for co-op marketing. So one of the things that we have, when somebody bids, they have to be pre-approved, not pre-qualified, pre-approved. So on our bidding platform, we link it to your lender. So in this scenario, this is where it goes directly to my lender's loan application page. My lender has to be at the open house. They have to have at least 2 people there because they are doing pre-approvals. Can I charge them and be compliant with RESPA to do that? The answer is yes, I can. Then we created a whole partners space for all kinds of businesses that you can promote. And it's pretty simple. Mortgage companies, locksmiths, carpet cleaners, movers, carpet and tile painting services. Guys, even if you went to them and said, you know what, in order to be compliant, I got to charge you like $25 a month. Let me just do $75 a quarter. And you started collecting fees. Well, guess what? Your website is free. How about if you become a member, I teach you how to get all the advertising stuff that you do for the open houses and get that paid for. How about if we taught you how to do that? Because it's about how much money you keep, not how much money you make, right? So we built that in there. So guys, if all this did was help you get one additional listing every month, would it be worth it? The answer, of course it would. And it gave you the ability to earn 4.5% to 6% on your listings. Well, what does that mean? Well, remember, if they come in and they don't have an agent, well, you're getting both sides of it. But what if they come in and they go, yeah, I got this agent, and I go, oh, awesome, what's his name? He goes, well, Josh. I'd say, oh, that's just too bad, because, I could have saved you about $3,000 in closing costs on this house. But, you're working with him, so cool. Folks, it's hysterical to watch it. They go, well, no, I'm not really working with him. I did talk to him. He showed me a house. Here's what I'll tell you, folks. If you don't sign your people to a buyer broker agreement, you didn't do your job. I'll discount the buyer's premium to get it. I will. I don't know what you would do, but your call. Could you imagine like back-ending a bunch of these now, especially all those people coming into the open houses? And it gave you the ability to get one or two more buyers from every open house. Here would be the thing, folks, is all the agents that I bring aboard to be my team, if I'm putting them in front of that many people, they better close a couple deals a month. Because otherwise, I just have to find somebody else who will, right? So if that's all it did, guys, you can get started for $299 the first month, $199 a month after that. We're going to work together for a year because I want you to be successful at it. I don't want people to come and go, oh, well, it's too much work, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, yeah, we want people that are serious about it. So $199 a month, you save 1/3 on doing that, right? If you pay for the year up front, you're getting free setup and 2 months free. Obviously, that's a great deal, right? So guys, you have two choices now. You don't have to do anything. You might go, yeah, sounds like work. That's okay. The second option is, I tell you, pony up this small investment. The truth is, guys, it actually is a small investment. I mean, if you pay monthly, $199 a month to be able to do this, that's crazy. And you save a bunch of money if you do it annually, but compared to that and get started. Those are the only two choices I see, right? So where do you go to do that? You go to auctionhousepro.com/GoJosh. Otherwise, you don't get that discounted price. So it's auctionhousepro.com/GoJosh. This is what it looks like when you go there. You have two choices. You can pay the $199 a month plus $100 setup fee, so $299 the first time, and then it'll be $199 after. Or you go to the annual and sign up for the annual. It's your call. Either one, we're going to love you, right? The question is, guys, what's one listing worth to you? One. I mean, 5, 10, 15, depending on where you're at. The entire system pays for itself with a listing for the whole year, like one listing. But I would suggest that we're not in this for one listing. What we're looking for is people that want to take and be able to do what I showed you, where we can take and teach you how to build a team and how you can put yourself in a financial position that would completely change your life, right? So you can get started now for $299 the first month, $199 after that, $19.99 for the year. What happens after a year? Well, if you paid for the year up front, it's going to rebuild the $19.99 the next year. If you're on the monthly, it just keeps billing every month. That's all. So no big changes to it, right? Here's the cool part. It's tax deductible. Don't forget that, right? Now, if you didn't sign up immediately, like if you already haven't done that, you got too many listings. I doubt that's the case. You're already making too much money. And so if that's not the case, guys, go to auctionhousepro.com/GoJosh and get signed up. Now, $299 for the first month, $199 after that, $19.99 annually. When you go to the page, this is what it looks like. You just choose. It's your call, either one. Now, what I want you to do, though, is when you pay, you're going to get sent to this page. Please bookmark that page. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this is where you're going to go to submit the information that we need to build your website. So there's going to be some stuff that we're going to need. One of them is going to be your domain registrar. We're going to need your username and password. Please don't send it to me and say, no, I'll do my own. We don't do that. You can change your password before, change it after. Doesn't matter. There's nothing we can really get from your GoDaddy account. but we need to be able to get in and change all of your DNS servers to connect everything properly. So you fill out that information, you submit, and it'll take about 3 to 5 business days to build it. So get that in. So just make sure you bookmark that page once you sign up, right? So with that, there is my direct number. There is the order page. There's where you can call us for email. Josh is going to send you a page. Josh is also going to send you his Calendly link if you want to talk to us. So I've seen somebody did ask, how about working on your EXP team? We're happy to talk to you about it. We'll get you Josh's Calendly link, and we can talk about it.
Right on.
So with
there
that,
are a ton of incredible, meaningful questions, and we're going to do our best to cover all of them. I do have a hard out here in not too long, but here's the deal. We're going to answer as many as we can live here, and if there are any that go unanswered, I'll get with Bob. We'll address all of them, and then or any that are missed, and we'll address them in follow up. A number of people asking, will there be a replay sent out of this? Yes. So later today or first thing in the morning, I'll send a replay. I'll send the link to get enrolled. I'll send the Calendly link for those of you interested that Bob mentioned as well. We'll get all of that out to you as soon as possible. A couple of people asking that if or when we get this sorted out in Canada, if we can be notified. Absolutely. We'll make sure that we do this. If I understood this correctly, since I'm in South Carolina, this is not available to me. Question mark. Bob, could you address that?
Yeah, it's all of our paperwork is in for the auctioneer. We're actually shocked. South Carolina is a little bit of a pain in the butt state. Typically, they're pretty business friendly, but this one, I would say we're probably a week to 2 weeks away in South Carolina. The only one that we're any time length away from is Ohio and Kentucky. They just have some crazier rules that even our auctioneer would have to follow. But short of that, South Carolina will be another week or two. Pennsylvania should be another week or two, and we'll be good to go.
Yay. Yay for Pennsylvania, baby. I need Florida requirements, Bonnie says. Any special requirements in Florida, or are we ready to rock?
So let me just explain that one, folks. So in any of the states that we need an auctioneer, so let's just use Florida as an example. There are 8 of them. We have to hire an auctioneer. We hired an auctioneer to do that. We have to pay that auctioneer. They have agreed to take and do it at $200 per auction. And the way that she said she's comfortable doing it is when you put an auction up, which is really when her liability starts, you pay her $100. When the auction's over, you pay her $100 because she has all the liability. Yeah. At the minute the auction starts, has nothing to do with whether it sells or not. That's when her license, just like our real estate license, that's when her liability kicks in, and we have to do everything we can to protect her license. Yeah. So in those states, we do have an additional cost in there. But literally, folks, there's a couple different things. Like in Florida, you guys are used to charging. It's not an uncommon thing in Florida to charge like a $4.95 admin fee. Just charge the seller.
Yep. Please notify me when South Carolina is ready to go. Can you do me a big favor, whoever this is, because I don't have the name here for whatever reason? Email me and say and ask, please notify me when South Carolina is available. Or if you're in one of the other states as well that Bob mentioned, send me an email. I'll log all of those, or go ahead and get signed up and we can get your site set up. Like I have my site set up, even though I can't implement this quite yet in Pennsylvania. Go ahead and get signed up, get your site set up. And that way, once it's ready to rock, you're already, you can hit the ground running.
And you'll want to go through the mastermind and some things like that, folks. So you'll want to go through some of the training. So yeah, if you're a couple weeks away, I really wouldn't worry about it because by the time we get your site up, you're going to want to go through some of the training, the documents, how does it get put into MLS, all that. In the mastermind, folks, all those documents are in there. What do I say in MLS? What form should I put in there? Any of the forms that we need, anything with the MLSs, all of that stuff's in there. All the disclosures are in there. All the paperwork that you would need is in there.
Yeah. Larry, do we continue to stay with our broker, or is this just a selling tool? So you certainly can, Larry. There's no brokerage requirements for this. Obviously, your broker would have to be okay with it. But if they're not, I would go and find another broker anyway. For those of you interested, there are some advantages if you did this under our EXP RevShare team, and we'd be happy to schedule a time. I'd be happy to schedule a time with you to discuss that, what that looks like, and the advantages that come with that. But in either case, you certainly can implement the Auction House Pro system and platform and get it rocking and rolling. Let's see here. Bonnie, are we done? I need to get on the phone. Sure, Bonnie. Again, we'll get the entire replay out as well. Kind of lost towards the end. We'll get a replay. Bonnie, genius in all capital letters. Can a brokerage offer this to all our agents as a recruiting tool?
So the answer to that is no. This is a single agent license. We are happy to talk to you about it, but it's not for a whole brokerage to take and do this for each individual agent. I mean, as a business, again, I'm always open and honest with you guys. As a business, you know, to sell it for $199 to a brokerage so that 100 agents could use it, that's not a good business decision.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, that's just.
So it's not.
Yeah.
So, do we need to get our own domain for the auction site? Yes.
What about that's $9 a year. What about Washington, D.C. area, including Maryland, Virginia, and Baltimore? Well, Baltimore's in.
Yeah, we're good there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good there.
It's really only those couple of states now, folks, that I had on the page. Everything else we're up. Our auctioneer's license is in place in all those other states, other than those couple that I had on the screen.
She said there's only 7 of us. Yeah. But still, you have to understand the perspective there. It's one thing if you bought it and you use the platform and you have your agents man it, that would be different than that would be used.
So here's what I would tell you. Again, I don't have your name on there. Schedule a call with Josh and I, and I'll show you how to take your brokerage from 7 to 70 in about 3 months.
Yeah.
That'll show you how to do.
Each agent need his or her own, right? We covered that. Takes money to make money, Bonnie says. Yes, but there's also a lot, obviously you're paying for the platform, but there's a lot that you can do for free. And if you remember, Bob mentioned several examples of people who in their first auction had 50, 60, 100 people without even doing any paid advertising. Will that help? Will that amplify things? Absolutely. But we're not talking about, other than the startup cost here, which still is in the grand scheme of thing, is small change compared to the opportunity, the possibilities of what's on the other side of that. We're not talking about massive investments here. Are there restricted territories?
No.
But
so it'd be very, very difficult. But remember, we said we're only going to do 200, so there just aren't that many. And it is something that we look at. But we do, as we look for areas where we want to grow our teams, we will definitely limit that, no question.
Calendly link. That's just a link to schedule a time on our calendar, to get on a call on our calendar. Yeah, that should have been explained better. If you're interested in that, shoot me an email, and I will include a link in the follow-up emails that are sent out after the fact with the replay and so forth as well. Can you use this with a VA? Certainly you could in any other way that you would use a virtual assistant in your business. Yeah.
And Eileen, when you actually see it, it probably takes less than 3 minutes to set up an auction. So the website's already done for you. So it's literally a function of logging in and doing about 3 minutes worth of work. The truth is, because you already know the house, because I'm pretty big about outsourcing things like that. So typically I would tell you yes, but it's so easy to do and nobody knows the property. And the other thing is, I would not want to let somebody make a mistake like, oh, it started too soon or it ended the wrong dates or things like that. It literally does take about 3 minutes to put it in, to put a property in.
Yep. Somebody specifically asked about PA, and I think this came in before we answered it, but PA, we're hoping in another week or two to have that. ready to rock and roll. I have my site up and ready to rock as soon as that's.
Yeah. PA has this huge system. They have like a ton of employees for like 400 auctioneers in the whole state.
Yeah,
It's hysterical.
Yeah. Well, that sounds about right for Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
What are the differences in Florida? I'm with you. So the difference in Florida, and again, I apologize if this came in before Bob already answered, but there's a $200 fee per auction paid to the auctioneer that Bob has partnered with in Florida to oversee and keep everything compliant. So it's $200. You pay $100 when you input the auction, like when you get the auction listing, and then $100 after. And hopefully I didn't mess any of that up, Bob.
Nope, that was perfect.
Yeah, sign me up now. Where do you list the homes? Any auction site? Nope. Okay, these came prior, so I think we've addressed all of the a lot of these. Okay.
So where you go to sign up, folks?
Yeah.
Is go to auctionhousepro.com/go Josh. That's where you go to sign up.
Yep. So that's the link. The link is also in the chat as well, and it does look like I think we've effectively answered or addressed all of the questions in there. If I missed any, I apologize. There was a ton of comments and questions and so forth. So, it's kind of hard to navigate through some of these, especially when it's a whole lot. So let me say a couple of closing statements, or just things to wrap up. If you did have a question that we just missed, or it was an oversight or whatever, please email me, or you can email the Gmail address on the screen as well. That's number one. Number two, I will send a replay out later today or first thing tomorrow morning, so you can go back and review this if interested. In the follow-up emails, I will also include a link for those of you interested in scheduling a call to discuss what Bob mentioned and how we could work together a little bit more intimately and help you grow your team and as part of our RevShare team. And lastly, if you haven't already done so, lock your spot up. Go to auctionhousepro.com/go Josh. auctionhousepro.com/go Josh. And then the last thing I'll say is, I mentioned it at the beginning. I'm going to mention it again. This is a very real, unique opportunity for yourself where you can provide a greater value, a greater service in your marketplace, and understand the opportunity that comes with that, right? You can have a real, legitimate competitive advantage in your marketplace with this system, with this platform, okay? And not have to rely on the idea of the fact that you provide more service, or you've been in the business for this amount of time, or you're then in the top X percent, because that is going to matter less and less. It already doesn't really matter a whole lot, but it's going to matter less and less. What's going to matter is what kind of value, what kind of service, what kind of competitive advantage can you offer in your marketplace that is unique to you? And this is that. I mean, this really is. It fits the bill in so many ways, and it gives you one singular focus, right? Focus on getting the listings using this process. All the marketing materials are included, both on the listing acquisition side and the marketing of the auctions. You get the platform, you get everything in one nice and neat, tidy package. I can't recommend this more. I can't give this a higher recommendation. It comes down to that. So go to auctionhousepro.com/go Josh. auctionhousepro.com/go Josh. Bob, any final words for the folks today?
I don't think so, folks. I appreciate you taking the time. I would encourage you to watch the replay again. If you have questions, that is my direct phone number on there. If you get a voicemail, leave me a number. I'm happy to answer questions and do that. But it's definitely a different way. But man, if you want to compete with what's going on in our marketplace right now, I don't know of a better way to do it. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the kind words on there. So have a great day. Thank
you, Bob. Thank you. auctionhousepro.com/go Josh. We'll look forward to talking with you soon.
Take care, guys.